Sawzall opens the hood just fine as far as I can tell. So I'm going to try and finish this video with the actual car demonstration. There's a couple of things that I wanted to add, and I guess there's a couple of things. So first of all, where I was talking about cutting the pins, this is the Sawzall, this is the tool that I used, and the blade here is not that long. I have a spring that is kind of left over, and as we can see right here where the grills are supposed to be, so behind this there's the radiator support. So if I lift it up, so this is the radiator support, that's where the locks are actually supposed to be. So I think I will install these if I can today. That is approximately the situation with the hood closed. This gap right here, there is less than an inch between the radiator support and the top of the hood, especially if it's locked all the way down. So if you take a Sawzall with this long of a blade, you can that's just enough to go through the pin. So that's basically where the pin is. Well, in any case, if you just take a flashlight and look into this gap, you will see the pin on this side, and it's going to be exactly the same on that side. And if you just stick the Sawzall here, you will actually get to the pin just right there. So you may want to use a longer blade, but this was enough. And when I was talking about peeling plastics off, I meant this. So there is the front plastic that is kind of a combination of hard plastic, rigid plastic, and somewhat softer that is molded on. And there is this second part that is like the back side, and you can see that this is the part that actually flexes. So if you remove this clip here that supposed to hold, I think, the snorkel on the intake, but if you remove this clip, this plastic starts to move like that. It also holds, that clip goes through this plastic, through the radiator support, and then to this lower part, and this is the lower one that you can bend back like that. And I guess the thing to do is actually get this lock in place. So I'm going to I need to zip this thing down so the cable doesn't come out. So I guess that's what I will do, and then I will install this lock. So this cable is going to go across from this right side, passenger side, to the left side, driver side. So I'm going to stick this in through this again by peeling this plastic like so. Push this lock in and put the screws on the top that hold it, and then you have to tack this cable into the plastics, and it will actually come out on the driver's side, and I will attach the cable to this lock. So these screws that hold locks in place are Torx T27 according to this set. So they're T27, and what I'm going to do now, I'm going to put the cable. I don't have to really. Well, I don't have to really. All I have to do is I have to slide this lock in place, and I'm peeling this plastic back, and I'm going to try to get it back in where it belongs. It's a tight fit, but you can do it. I guess you have to get it in place in a sense that you have to slide this tab into the radiator support. That's how it goes in. I'm going to maybe start one of these screws just so it stays in place, I guess. And there's no real alignment, I guess, on this part, because this lock, the bottom part, just sits where the radiator support is, and all the adjustments are done on the hood, on that pin that is attached to the hood. So that's how this one goes in. Now I have to stick the cable into the plastic, and here's a bit of a problem. And the problem with this side is that you have to attach two cables to this lock. one on the left side, one on the right side, and this one is out of place, and I honestly don't recall how this goes back in. I guess it comes out. Oh, it has to come out right here behind the headlight. So I guess what's important on this side with this cable to feed it into the radiator support and make it come out right here just behind the headlight. And to do that I kind of have to try right here. So basically comes out like that. But now we have to direct it into where the lock is, and the lock sits right here. Now the problem is when it's in place it's too short. So I guess I need to unhook the cable on that joint. So this is the place where these cables join together. This one is coming out of the from under the dash, and this is the one that goes behind the headlight. So I separated these just because I need to push this part forward as far as it goes, so I can attach the other end to the lock itself. And once I do that, and put the lock back in place, I can pull it back out and get to this location where it belongs and reattach them together here and reassemble this part. So when I disconnect this part of the cable, this cable that is behind the headlight, from the cable that comes from under the dash, I can actually pull this part into in front of the radiator. So now this part comes out here. The cable that joins this lock to the other lock is right here. So now I have to attach these two to this lock that goes on the driver's side, and then I can pull this cable back into and reattach them, and actually I will be able to push the lock into the place. So I'm going to put the cable, this cable here, and make it go into it, and then I'm going to attach this cable too, like that. So I have two cables right here now. And now the trick is to, becomes kind of rigid because of cables, still peeling the plastics back. I'm trying to now push this lock into the radiator support like so, and now it's time to actually have this intermediate cable pushed back in place. I mean, I don't really have to show any of that because this is just a cable that slides into the plastics, and I just noticed that this plastic is actually attached with, like, there are two places where that back plastic is going to hook up onto the radiator, and I'm going to show that in a second. But before I do that, I'm going to locate the lock. I'm going to reinstall the screws that hold it. Kind of suspecting what happened or not happened. I should ask my brother if he actually adjusted or released those pins on the hood, because if he did not, then those pins would be out of place, not located properly. They would not line up to these locks. So yeah, I guess that's important. You have to realign the pins on the hood to the locks and then make them tight. But in general, this lock is in place. So this plastic, the plastic that's under, yeah, there is a place right here with the, it's kind of like a tab. It's really hard to, no, this side is fine, but this side is, so there's one place here, where this plastic is hooked at. So if you try to release this plastic, you kind of have to push it back and then down. So, and of course there are two of those clips here. And what I need to see next, if I can actually pull the cable and see if these locks work. So okay, I'm going to check if the release cable works, and this is the place where the cables join. Here I'm pulling the cable like that. So this is all the movement that this cable does, and we will go look at the locks. Okay, so here's the lock. I'm going to be pulling the cable, and we can see that wire moves. And the same thing, I'm not going to show it, but I'm going to, yep, the other side. Well, for the purpose of demonstration, That's the passenger side lock. So that's how you can tell that these work, because that wire has to go out of the way of the pin and hide. I guess there's no magic here really or anything to show, but just for the purpose of getting all this documented. So that's the cable that goes into the radiator support, and it ends at the first lock, and this is the cable that comes out from the dash. And now we'll have to somehow connect these two together. Wonder how. Well, I know how. We'll use my surgical tool. Right, this side goes here. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to go pull the lever under the dash, and well, it's hard to see if this moves or not, but I can review the video. Would be nice to have someone help me at this point, but my brother is probably still working. Well, I still can see it. And that's the movement. That is the movement of the cable when I pull the lever. Now this thing closes. This thing closes like this, and it goes into its place on the fender like that. It's kind of hard to see it because I should be pointing the camera from this direction, but in any case, this is the location. And the only way to test this is to close the hood and I guess try it. So we're getting to the end of this video, and this is the pin. This is the last thing that I wanted to show or mention. This is the pin that actually goes into the lower part of the lock. It's held in place by these two bolts, and they are internal Torx, and it's also T27. And as you can see, there is a lot of rust. So if you try to undo it, you may actually strip them. Well, if you try to undo them while the hood is locked, because as you can see, you can get to it through the grill. You can get to it, but especially this one, that one, you also can reach it, but you need to have a really small ratchet with a bit, Torx bit, or you can try and use something like this, but it's too short and you don't really have much room to really swing it, and it's really tight, so you have to be pushing your tool or Torx bit into the bolt and then apply the force to it. So, but if you have this going through the grill or the hood, because the grill is removed, so you may actually be, yeah, it's super either rusted or tight. So that's the problem that I was really worried about, or the thing that creates problem. Oh yeah, this was super tight or super rusty, so you're always risking stripping these, and then you end up drilling bolt. This one is probably not going to budge. Yeah, so this one can be removed, and there is the reason to remove it, because if you cut this off, you will have to replace it. And of course, there's a blue Loctite or whatever Loctite BMW uses. It looks blue, and it's kind of like not fluid Loctite, but something that they sell these bolts with pre-applied, I guess. So what is the best way to remove those? Well, that's a good question. You can either try and force a tool like that into it, put an extension on it, or you can find a Torx bit. There you go. So the internal Torx is not super deep here, so you always risk stripping. Yeah, and then you will have to drill things out, and that's not usually a whole lot of fun. So this is the thing that you have to really deal with. And the last thing that I'm going to talk about in this video is these hood pins. This is the part that actually goes into the hood lock, the lower part of the lock. So this one is the one that I had to cut. So this thing is basically an adjustable thing. It's got these huge holes that these bolts go through, and you can see how much of a movement you can have with this much of a hole. Second of all, it's a threaded end, and basically the height of this is adjustable. This end, it looks like a hex, but T20, whatever that size is, fits in it. What's the size? Because somebody is going to complain about it. This is a T25, so T25 fits in here perfectly, and you should be able to turn or turn this part and adjust so it will screw into the base or screw out of the base, and that way you adjust the height of this pin, and that affects how tight your hood is going to be, because this part is attached to the hood, and this is the part that actually goes into the lower lock right here. This height needs to be set per car individually, so you cannot just buy something. It can be in and out, like all the way down, or can be up, whatever. So you have to adjust it, and I suggest you start with the tallest setting that you can, so your hood doesn't lock too tight, and then you progressively turn this in and adjust the height of the hood. And as you can see, this all is rusted, and good luck trying to adjust this. The other thing that just crossed my mind, and the last thing, here's what crossed my mind. So when this thing is locked, so this is attached to the hood, so the hood is going to be right here. The pin is in the lock, so that adjustment, or the socket for the adjustment, is going to be available to you from the bottom. So if you can, like, remove the plastics or cut the plastics or something, and imagine this thing is locked. So if you take your tool and get to, well, I don't think I can because the plastics are, well, maybe I can demonstrate it. Can I actually get to it? Probably can. So you can see how this tool just came out through the lower part of the lock. So if you can stick it into the grill opening and locate the pin like so, and then if you twist, if you start turning the pin and make it come out of the seat, so that will effectively release the hood, because the pin will separate from the seat, and the seat being attached to the hood but not attached to the pin anymore, so things will disengage and you can open up the hood that way. So I guess that's one of those ways that I really did not think of, because I did not know that this thing had something like this. I think I saw like a slot or slit or whatever. Oh look, this bumper used to be silver, and now then it was painted, and then it was painted green. In any case, I guess that's a good point that I really didn't think about. I didn't think of this. There's a jet flying over my head, and it's making a lot of noise. Well, I guess that's one of those things that I really didn't think of. If the hood is locked and you manage to get your tool into the pin, well, of course it's going to be really hard. First of all, you have plastics, and then you cannot see much. And so if you can really get your tool into this pin, and that's a lesson that everyone needs to really remember. Remember this, or you will forget. So if you put your tool into the pin and start turning it like this, well, it's going to turn all together, because this is all rusted together. And hopefully it's not rusted like it is on this car. So if your car is about this old, this might also be rusted shut, so you would not be able to do this. But that's a possibility. You can, instead of trying to remove any of this and then undo. That's a Z4, by the way, that drove by. So instead of trying to undo those bolts, or trying to cut this pin, or trying to remove these two bolts, you can try and turn the pin and make it come out of the seat that is attached to the hood. If it's all like this on your car also, rusted and all, then you don't have a whole lot of chance. So I guess, so like I said in the beginning of this video, that my advice is not to waste time trying to do all this. Just take a Sawzall, cut through this pin on both sides. It's fairly easy, accessible. Just cut those pins and open the hood, and then just replace these pins, and you would be done in like 11 minutes. I guess that's the best thing to deal with these locks. Yeah, I guess that should be it for this video. So I reinstalled the locks, I reattached the cables, and the only thing that is left is to find a replacement for these two pins, because there is no chance I would want to reuse this. And like I said, one more time, before you do all this, if you're replacing the hood or you're doing anything like that, make these bolts loose, turn this pin out as far as it goes, align everything, make well, somewhat tight, I guess, to the hood, so it's in place, because if it's not in place, if it's not located properly, it's just going to try to jam. This pin has to be lined up to the lower part of the lock, to the perfectly, because if it's off, it's going to catch the edge. Well, is it something? Yeah, I think it can, and it's just going to catch. And well, is it going to catch? Maybe not. There is like a plastic, well, there's a plastic bushing, so I guess that's not as important or not critical, but still it makes sense to line this up, line the pin to the seat, to the lower part, so it doesn't get locked. Well, that's pretty much all that I wanted to talk about.